Okay, so once you're in delta, we're going to do one-step addition and subtraction equations. We're going to do a total of 8 examples together. And they're examples of how to solve addition and subtraction equations. We're really going to emphasize working with integers, having a negative in there some way, somehow. Okay? Which may be new for you from last year. Okay, so here we go. We will solve this equation. If you can do it mentally, that's great. I appreciate that. That will be a way of checking. But what I really need you to be able to do is show the transformation steps. Okay, because those are going to be super important when we have very complex multi-step equations. Okay, so you may know transformation steps is the following rule. Whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other side. You guys remember that? So if you add on one side of the equal sign, you have to add on the other. You multiply on both sides, multiply on the other. And then we're also going to do what are called inverse operations. Does anyone know what inverse operations are? Inverse means opposite. So like here, for example, I have 8 plus x. That's what's known as an addition equation. So everyone write down that equation. 8 plus x equals -4. Okay? I want to do an inverse. In other words, some sort of transformation, same step on both sides, that's going to eliminate that 8 so that I isolate x. I get x by itself. So what would get rid of this positive or plus 8? A negative. And sometimes you want to think of it as a negative, sometimes you want to think of it as subtraction. Whichever way makes sense to you in your mind. If it makes sense for you as a -8, perfect. So look what happens. This is the theory behind it that I need you to understand. If I'm adding 8 and -8, what does it become? 0. Right? So the only thing left on the left side, I'm sure you're familiar with this, is x. We've isolated x. Now we just have to figure out what, I made a mistake though, didn't I? I should have put a -8 here. Now it's correct. If I do -4 and -8, what does that add up to? I can always check to make sure it works. I could replace x with that number. And it does equal -4. It checks out. So the answer here is -12. Okay? So we just solved our first equation. Okay? Let's try the next one. Write it down, please. This is example 2. 5 equals. Thank you.
So,
all right. Yes.
Basically, something that's really helpful is just to like get the number 8 to 0 and then just get up.
Yes,
and
you want
the
to
way
get
to get it to 0 is just plus 8, and then you have to plus 5 because you have to get to 5.
Yeah. So I plus 8 here, since that would make 0.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a -8. I want to 0 it out.
I got to plus 5, so 8 plus 5, 13.
Okay. But don't I also have to plus 8 here?
Yeah.
Right, okay. I'm going to cancel that out just to show that that goes away. And you got 13, like you said, equals, well, the only thing left on the right side is C. Okay, now here's an important topic. Notice the answer here ended up being 13 equals C. Are we comfortable with that answer? Is that okay? It is, it is. If I'm not comfortable with it, what can I do? How can I rewrite it somehow where it's, yeah.
C equals 13?
Yeah, just rewrite it. Now, This is simple enough when you have equations, things with an equal sign, right? When we start getting into inequalities, greater than signs, less than signs, it's going to change things a little bit when we do this flip that we just did. But that's it. Okay, here we just want 13. Just remember, things are going to be a little different once we start solving inequalities. I want you to start thinking ahead, kind of getting the big picture. Okay, so example 2, c equals 13. All right, here we have another one. 10 equals x, take away 1. Okay, let's do that one. Now, yeah, let's go ahead and solve. This one's a subtraction equation. How do I undo the subtraction? I want to get x by itself. Plus. You can also think of it as a positive. And we're going to add 1. Because that makes us 0. Okay? So 10 and 1 makes 11. If I want to, I can write this as x equals 11. So here our answer is 11. Okay? All right. Moving right along, we're on example 4. We're halfway through this. Okay, let's try this one. Negative 9
plus t equals
All right. So we want to solve by isolating the variable. And I have negative 9 plus t. Okay? Think about how we're going to isolate that. Jasmine.
Another way to do it, you can use a number line because you want to get from negative 9 to negative 7. And you just have to figure out the missing number, which is 2. Because negative 9 plus 2 doesn't make sense.
I guess I could put a negative 6 there. And I'm here, and I want to get to there. And that's 2. Let's see. So I'm going to do it algebraically. What can I do algebraically to do that?
T equals 2?
Well, how to solve it? I want to do the step.
You can do negative, you can do the negative 9 method, like to make it go to 0.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
How do I make it go to 0? What do I do mathematically?
You have to do plus 9. The opposite of the number.
The opposite.
And then you have to do plus 9. That way is like really easy.
Yeah. So if you're a visual person, yeah, the number line definitely reinforces. What I'm going to need you guys to do is be able to do this well. Because eventually, again, thinking big picture, thinking like a week and a half down the line, when we have multi-step equations, this is going to be one of many steps. All right, so we're going to go with 2 there. I figured this would be very easy for us. It's always easy at the beginning of these chapters. All right, number 5. Write down the equation. Negative 7 equals s minus 1. I tried really hard to make my s not look like a 5. Okay, we want to isolate this variable.
Which is plus 7.
Yeah. Well, we want to get the s by itself, though.
Oh. How do we do that?
Well, it's minus or negative 1. What's the opposite?
Oh, plus.
Yeah. Always think of the numbers on the same side as the variable. Always think of what gets rid of the numbers on the same side as the variable. Well, it's minus or negative 1. So I'll put a positive or plus 1. Because this makes 0. That goes away. Negative 7 and 1 is negative 6 equals S. So here we're going with negative 6. Now, if you're ever not sure, you can always replace S with that number negative 6. So we would say, okay, does negative 7 equal negative 6 minus 1? Well, it does, because we could do keep change opposite, and it works out. Okay, moving right along. Number 6. We're only a few off. Ooh, this one's interesting. 0 equals b plus 5. Now, here's an added question. Write this down, but is there another way of rewriting this equation? Is there another way of writing this equation? Because I've noticed the variable's been on the right side. Yes?
B plus 5?
B plus 5, start with that. And what does that equal? 0. You can do it that way. I'm sorry, you were good.
Yeah. 5 plus b because
Yeah.
Because you can flip the addition, because that's how addition works.
Called the commutative property. We can play around with our equations a little bit if we're not comfortable with them. But you got to be careful to follow or obey all the rules. Yeah, the commutative property comes into play here. We can write it this way. So either one of those you can solve. But all of them have to be solved the same way. How do I get rid of that 5 that's on the same side as the b? What do I do mathematically? Yes? Minus. And on the other side, where the 0 is, whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So now, what's my final answer, guys? Negative 5. You combine these. Basically, you're adding them. You're adding these two numbers. When you add a 0 with a negative 5, you end up with negative 5. Okay, so negative 5 is an answer here. Okay, we got 2 more. So let's try this one, guys. 10 plus W.
90.
Well, equals negative 9 right now, but I see where you're going. Well, tell me, how'd you get that? Tell me in our transformation steps.
I just turned 10 into 0, and then I went backwards. So
Okay.
I went back to negative 9, and that was my
How do you turn that 10 into a 0 mathematically?
negative 10. And negative 9 plus negative 10 is 19.
Yes, again, we're adding those, so
Negative 19.
negative 19. Boom. Okay, last one. Let's see, negative 8
17.
equals n
Wait.
minus 9.
Yeah, 17.
You know what I want to do on this one? I want to rewrite it. I want my variables not on the right side of the equal sign, on the other side. So what if, say I want to start with n minus 9 on the left of this equal sign. What's on the other side? Negative 8. So Gabriel, is there any other way I could rewrite that possibly?
No.
Yes.
Negative 9 minus n equals negative 8. Oh,
No, it's negative 9 plus n.
Yeah, it has to be negative 9 plus n. Remember, this is going to be something, the minus stays with a number behind it. Okay, so we could do minus or negative 9. N we're going to consider positive, so plus n. These are all different ways of rewriting the equation. Okay, now here it's telling me put a positive or plus 9. So -8 and 9 is 1. Okay. So I'll let you finish this. But basically today we're solving addition equations. Uh-huh. Yeah.